wasn't supposed to be here. The underworld reeked of damp stone and sorrow. Cold air clung to my skin like cobwebs. I, Persephone, who once danced barefoot in meadows and wove flowers into crowns, now found myself imprisoned beneath the earth, a reluctant bride of the dead. Hades watched me from across the long obsidian table.
Eat,
he said softly, gesturing to the silver platters of food, charred meat, blood-colored wine, and fruits that oozed a syrupy darkness. I said nothing. I hadn't spoken since I was taken. He brought me here. He who called himself king. He who dragged me down without asking. He who now sat in silence, watching my anger rot into despair. I want to go home, I said finally. He looked at me unmoved. Let me go. I stood, shoving the grotesque platter to the floor. The wine splashed like blood. The meat thudded like a severed limb. You have no right. He didn't flinch. His face was carved from stillness. I hated the cold of this place. It clung to everything, walls, breath, thoughts, and him. I ran. Through silent corridors and winding halls lit by cold blue fire. I ran past pale spirits, each twisted in their own echo of suffering. Their eyes followed me. Some reached out, others whispered in tongues I couldn't understand. There was no sun, no warmth, no green, only grey, endless grey. I ran until my legs gave out, until the despair and hunger buckled me to my knees. My stomach gnawed at itself. My throat was cracked earth. And then I saw it. A fruit, half buried in dust, crimson glistening, a pomegranate. I remembered sweet peaches, honeyed figs, my mother's garden. I picked it up, one seed, just one. I bit down. Warmth bloomed. My body tingled. A memory. Sunlight filtering through olive leaves. Laughter. My mother's arms. Another seed. My friend's voice. The smell of spring. Another and another. But soon the memories began to blur. I couldn't recall who I was laughing with, or what my mother looked like. I kept eating, chasing warmth. Then came the pain. It began as warmth beneath my skin, then flared into fire. My veins turned black, bulging like crawling roots. I scratched in panic, skin flaking in ashen curls. Something was growing inside me, and it wasn't human. Then I saw it. A crack in the stone, narrow, leaking faint air. I stumbled toward it, breath thin, vision swimming. Step by step I climbed, limbs shaking. The passage was jagged and close, like the throat of something dying. When I surfaced, the world above was quiet, the wind soft, but I was not the same. My hands, blackened, thin, dry like the dead. My reflection in the lake showed hollow eyes, skin turning grey. I looked like him, Hades. I hid. I couldn't let the mortals see me. They would scream. They would burn me. I, who was once a goddess of spring, now looked like a corpse. Worse, where I walked, the grass withered. Trees lost their leaves. Flowers curled into themselves. Animals grew still. I touched a sleeping deer. It twitched, then convulsed. Its fur peeled, its bones shifted. It stood again, not as a creature of life, but as something else, something rotting. Everything I touched changed. The trees I passed twisted, their bark cracking, mouths opening in their trunks, teeth made of thorns. But just before I turned to flee again, something shifted. I saw a soul, a wandering spirit lost and shaking. Not of this world. Not yet. He was young, maybe 16. His clothes were tattered, and his eyes, wide and brimming with salt, searched the shadows like they held answers he couldn't bear to lose. I didn't know why I come closer to him.
No, I don't want to go yet. Persephone,
He whispered when he saw me.
my mother is still waiting. She thinks I'll come home. I didn't mean to fall in the river. I didn't say goodbye.
My chest ached. In his eyes, I saw the same fear I had carried, of being torn from a life not yet finished, of being pulled into a place you never chose. He clutched a small pendant, a bird carved from wood worn smooth with love. What was her name?
Eleni. She makes bread every morning. She leaves mine by the window even now.
I didn't know why I felt empathy. I reached out, afraid, but gentle. He didn't scream. He nodded. When my fingers brushed his cheek, he sighed, a soft breath like letting go. His eyes closed and his body gently slackened, as if sleep had finally found him. From his chest, a soft glow pulsed. In that stillness, a flower unfurled, not from soil, but from spirit. Then another bloomed from his shoulder, and one more from his palm. A handful of pale blossoms opened, soft as breath, drifting around him in silence. They glowed faintly, a quiet farewell. Suddenly, a voice echoed through the trees, deep, ancient.
Wife of mine.
A towering figure emerged, cloaked in shadow, crowned with bone, but not monstrous, familiar.
You've been running, Persephone, but you've been becoming.
Becoming what?
You ate the seeds. You carry the underworld in your blood. But what you see, death, rot, is shaped by your fear.
I didn't want this.
And yet, here you are. Even now, look.
I turned. Around me where I once walked, yes, the trees were blackened, but now small flowers bloomed along their roots. Quiet ones, swaying like sighs.
When you fear, you see horror. But when you look with kindness, you see truth.
I stared at my hands. Not beautiful, not youthful, but steady. I looked again into the lake. Not the girl I was, not the corpse I feared. Something else, something still, something blooming.
Come home. They need you.
We descended, through tunnels and shadows back to the place I once fled. But it was not the same, or perhaps I wasn't. The spirits gathered around me, whimpering, trembling. I knelt, I touched one. A flower sprouted from her spine. I held another hand and whispered a memory. His eyes filled, then softened. He stayed, transparent, quieter, but present, as pale petals drifted around him like snowfall. He didn't need to disappear to find peace. I walked the halls, and with each touch, a garden grew in my wake. I wasn't spring anymore. I was something deeper. Not the end, not the beginning. I was what lay between.
My daughter, please come back to me.
I am Persephone, the blooming below.
Everyone at the market called me a thief or a street rat, but I didn't care much. I was just an ordinary guy struggling to get food and survive each day. So what if I stole? I didn't need anyone's approval. This time, I stole the lamp from the antique dealer. I heard it was the most valuable item he was bringing to the noble's auction. But the lamp was old and scratched. I wiped off the dust covering the lamp. Once, twice. By the sixth wipe, the lamp suddenly shook violently. Red smoke poured from its spout. When the smoke cleared, a massive figure with a deep, booming voice appeared before me.
I am the genie. You have awakened me from my long slumber, and now you are my master. I shall grant you 3 wishes. But be careful what you wish for, because I will fulfill them in my own way.
I trembled at the genie's appearance, but excitement soon drowned out my fear. Since birth, I'd never owned anything of value. The things I stole barely got me a few coins, just enough for scraps of bread to fill my empty stomach after days of hunger. I wouldn't waste this chance. Without hesitation, I made my first wish. I wished to become the richest man in the kingdom.
Your wish is my command.
That night, as I slept, a strange light jolted me awake. Unbelievable. Treasure chests appeared before me, filled with shiny gold, silver, and jewels. I picked up a gold coin, but my fingers met a sticky, metallic stench, like blood.
You wish to be the richest, and so you are. For there are no wealthy men left. They are all dead.
My grin froze. The treasure chests belonged to the nobles of the kingdom. The genie had slaughtered them all, and now their riches were mine. I glanced at the blood-streaked gold, the metallic scent growing stronger. No matter. They were mine now. I was the richest. From this day on, I'd drown in silk and luxury.
You have 2 wishes left. Be careful what you wish for.
I dressed in fancy silk robes and shiny jewels. Wherever I went, crowds gasped with envy. Then my eyes were drawn to a stunning figure. It was Princess Jasmine. I had all the gold and silver I could ever want, but now I desired more. I wanted her. I wanted to possess the most beautiful woman in the kingdom. I approached the princess and gave her a dazzling gemstone. "Oh, beautiful Princess Jasmine, I fell in love with you at first sight. Will you grant me the honor of being your beloved?"
Silk and jewels can't hide your vulgar and lowly nature. Stay away from me. I would never accept a street rat like you.
As she walked away, my pride shattered. I couldn't accept this. I pulled out the lamp and made my second wish. I wished the princess's heart. She must be mine. That night, as I polished my treasure chests, the genie appeared. He dropped a dripping, bloodied heart into my palm.
Your second wish is granted. The princess's love is yours. Remember, you have only one final wish remaining.
News of the princess's murder shocked the entire kingdom. The king ordered soldiers to hunt down the killer in every corner of the kingdom. No, I can't be caught. As I turned to escape, I crashed right into a soldier.
Seize him! This is the suspect seen with the princess!
In my panic, I grabbed the lamp and shouted my final wish. "Make me king! I want to rule this kingdom!" When I awoke, I was inside the king's palace, but the sight before me was horrifying. The genie held the king's severed head like a trophy. His monstrous grin chilled me to the bone.
Your final wish has been granted. You are now the king of this kingdom.
He tossed the head at my feet. Overwhelmed by terror, I staggered and vomited.
Enjoy your wishes.
Suddenly, the doors burst open. Soldiers stormed inside.
Arrest him! He slaughtered the nobles, the princess, and now our king! We won't tolerate this monster!
Too broken to resist, I let them drag me away. In that moment, I realized that my life was ruined. This was the price for my 3 greedy wishes.
That morning, I was feeding the horses, as I always did. Then, from the village center, a noise broke through the quiet, shouting, sharp and urgent, laced with tension I could feel in my bones. I dropped the feed basket and ran. What I saw at the sacred stone took the breath from my lungs. A man, clearly not from any tribe I knew, knelt in the dirt with his wrists bound tightly and dried blood marking the side of his face, while my people surrounded him like wolves torn between fear and the instinct to strike. My father, the chief, had already made his judgment. The stranger was a harbinger of misfortune, and he would be sacrificed to calm the spirits. But when his eyes met mine, something in me shifted. There was no anger in them, no pride or hate, only fear, bare, and deeply human, the kind that speaks beyond words. In that silent moment, I saw a plea I couldn't ignore. So I turned to my father, approached him quietly and whispered, asking him to spare the man's life. My father considered me for a long moment, then turned back to the man.
Because my daughter is merciful, your life will be spared. Remember this gift.
I approached the man and untied his ropes, my hands trembling slightly as I did so. I didn't know then that this simple act of kindness would become the thread that unraveled everything I believed to be safe. His name was Edmund. In the days that followed, I visited him in secret. He was weakened by injury and hunger, so I brought him food, healing herbs, and simply sat with him when he needed nothing but quiet company. Slowly, as trust began to form, he told me about his world, a place beyond the sea, where cities glowed through the night and people lived not under the rule of spirits or chiefs, but free, each person carving their own path. He placed a small, time-worn compass into my hand, saying it had always pointed him toward hope. Then, with a tenderness that caught me off guard, he looked at me and called me his wild queen. It was a name that unsettled and intrigued me all at once. And when he asked me to leave with him, to cross the ocean and see that world for myself, I felt a sudden thrill rise within me. The old, buried longing for something more than duty and tradition. Even so, I turned him down. My heart wasn't ready to part with the only home I had ever known. That changed the day my father announced my marriage to Nakoma, an elder from an allied tribe. I had never met him. I was told he was strong, wise, and a valuable alliance for peace. But none of that mattered to the part of me that wanted to be seen. Not as a daughter or a bride, but as myself. I didn't want a life chosen for me, wrapped in expectation and silence. So I went to Edmund, and for the first time I said yes. We left in the dark, with only the compass and the sound of waves for company. As the shoreline faded, I told myself I wasn't running. I was choosing. I believed that somewhere out there, beyond the sea, freedom was waiting. At first, everything dazzled me. England was louder, faster, stranger than I'd ever imagined. There were buildings that reached into the clouds, voices that echoed in alleys, and colors I couldn't name. But the stares came quickly, and they stayed. People looked at me with the cold curiosity of collectors studying something exotic, as if I were a creature brought back from the edge of the world to be gawked at and explained away. Only Edmund treated me like I belonged, at least, in the beginning. But slowly, the lines began to blur. He insisted I stay indoors, told me the city was cruel, that the people wouldn't understand me. He said he was protecting me, and I wanted to believe him, even as the walls began to close in, even as my reflection grew unfamiliar. When I finally told him I wanted to return home, my voice was shaking, but firm. He simply smiled and said we would have one last dinner, something special, a farewell. I remember how warm the room felt, how sweet the wine was, how his eyes never left mine as he raised his glass and whispered,
To us.
After that, darkness took everything. I awoke to darkness, not the kind that comes with night, but the kind that sinks into your bones. I couldn't move, couldn't speak, couldn't even feel the rhythm of breath in my chest. But I was still present. I could see. Edmund was standing beside me, humming quietly as he brushed my hair, painted my lips, and stitched my eyelids shut with careful, practiced hands. He whispered as he worked, calling me beautiful, calling me his forever. He treated my body like something sacred, and still something no longer mine.
Once upon a time, they called the younger stepsister a goblin, until the day she began chiseling herself into a princess. I used to think that love could forgive anything, even a face like mine. People called me names when I was little. Goblin girl, plump elf, crooked nose freak. I got used to it. I buried myself in books and wrote poems under the sheets at night, stringing together words about a prince I'd never meet. But then he came along, Prince Han. He wrote verses more beautiful than I ever could. I clipped his poems from the Castle Gazette and hid them in a box beneath my bed. I told myself, if someone like him could write like that, then maybe he could also see beyond the surface of things. That hope kept me warm. After my mother passed away, I stayed behind in the manor, living with my stepsister Cinderella. Cinderella was born lovely. Thin lips, pale skin, the kind of effortless beauty that earned glances from strangers before she even spoke. She was kind to me, in the way one is kind to a younger sister. But kindness isn't the same as understanding. When people looked at the two of us, they assumed who was chosen and who was forgotten. Then came the day in the woods. I had only wandered beneath the trees, hoping the quiet might soothe me, when distant laughter broke through the stillness. It was Prince Han and his hunting party, all dressed in silks and boasting about their exploits. One of them asked what kind of girl Han liked, and he didn't even pause.
Sharp angles, wide eyes, lashes like fans, a high nose, porcelain skin, a tiny waist, and a fragile frame. That was the kind of beauty I wanted. And in the end, I was the one who set the standard for this entire kingdom.
Then they laughed, the kind of laughter that feels like teeth. He turned suddenly, his gaze landing on the trees where I crouched behind a trunk. His smile didn't falter.
And of course, only beautiful girls need apply. The ugly ones shouldn't even bother.
They roared again, louder this time, like hunters circling something they never meant to show mercy to. I didn't cry. I went home. That night, I stood in front of the mirror and made a promise. If beauty was the only language the prince understood, then I would learn it. I would speak it fluently. And so I began. Every morning, I pulled my corset so tight that it left raw lines across my belly. I fainted twice before noon during that first week. Then I visited the cosmetic apothecaries in the capital, trading family jewels for syringes, scalpels, and sterile hooks. They molded my face like clay, slicing, stitching, stretching. My nose was clamped in a metal brace until it bled. My lashes were sewn into place with threads so thin it shimmered in candlelight. My jaw was shaved to look sharper. Though the pain was unbearable, I clenched my teeth and endured it, whispering to myself that it would all pass, so long as it made me beautiful. I didn't stop eating. I couldn't. But I found another way. There's a trick with tapeworms, you see. You swallow the eggs and they eat for you. Your stomach shrinks and you still feel full. I told myself it was clever. Cinderella saw what I was doing. She begged me to stop, held my wrists as I trembled with pain after a facial nerve spasm.
You don't need to do this.
You were born beautiful. You'll never understand what it means to be told, every day, that you are less than human because of your face. She didn't reply. She just stood there, guilt pressing against her silence. The royal ball arrived. I walked in with a waist as slim as my breath, lips painted in a trembling curve. For once, people stared, no longer with pity or revulsion, but with admiration. Han looked at me and smiled. He asked me to dance. I floated toward the floor on fragile heels, my heart light, as if I were stepping into a dream finally made real. But then she arrived, Cinderella. Her dress shimmered like mist, her presence swallowing every eye in the room. Han turned and I watched his gaze drift, then fix, then hunger. He dropped my hand as if I were never there. He asked her to dance. I stood at the edge, shivering beneath my borrowed beauty, and felt something cave inside me. I fled before the first chord of the waltz. Cinderella chased me home. In her rush, she lost a shoe on the palace steps. Glass, delicate, absurd. Han picked it up, his eyes gleaming with the thrill of a hunter who had just caught the scent of something rare. When Cinderella returned, we argued. Why did you come to the ball dressed like that? Did you want the prince to notice you that badly? You were born beautiful. Why did you have to compete with me too?
I only came to find you.
But I didn't believe her. Not then. Then the door suddenly burst open. Han stood at the threshold, the glass slipper gleaming in his hand.
Whoever fits this will be my bride.
Something in me snapped. I smiled, cold and sharp, and shoved my foot into the glass slipper, but it was far too small. I picked up a carving knife and walked to the front hall. Han didn't flinch. He watched, intrigued as I raised the knife and hacked off my biggest toe. Blood painted the floor like a carpet. I shoved my foot into the shoe. It fit. See? I'm perfect now.
Only 4 toes? Disgusting.
He pushed me away. My chest tightened, and suddenly, all the pain I had endured felt meaningless. Was it all truly for someone like the prince? The tears streamed down my face, unstoppable. Cinderella had picked up the other shoe and slammed it into Han's head. He collapsed. We tied him to a chair in the basement, his mouth gagged, eyes wide with disbelief. He looked at us like we were the monsters.
No more suffering in silence. He'll understand what he made us become.
We began. We used the same tools they'd used on us. Surgical thread, nose clamps, heated bone presses. I kept the iron rods steady as Cinderella quietly sewed his eyelids wider, murmuring poems that sounded all too familiar. Perhaps even mine. With each pulled thread, each careful slice along his skin, I saw the echoes of a pain I had once survived. He wept through it all. By the time we were done, his face was grotesque, exaggerated, hollow, warped by the very standards he once worshipped. We didn't stay. We packed the jewelry, wrapped our wounds, and left the kingdom behind. Somewhere far, I hoped, there might be a place where beauty wasn't currency, where people like me didn't have to carve themselves into someone else's fantasy. Cinderella held my hand as we walked, and for the first time, I believed her when she said I was beautiful. Perhaps there was never any true standard of beauty at all. I didn't need to please the prince or anyone else. I only needed to be myself.
I am Julia. I have been shunned by the entire village because of the ugly scar on my face. I lived with Marcus, a blind man with a pure heart. But sometimes I wondered, if Marcus could see my ugly face, would he still love me? Though my heart was filled with worries, I still loved Marcus dearly. Recently, couples in the village had been mysteriously disappearing. The villagers believed that our love was a curse that brought misfortune upon them. Whenever we went out, they would point fingers and curse at us. One furious couple even shouted,
"Go away, you cursed pair!"
Overwhelmed by anger, I picked up a small stone and threw it back at them. The murmurs and gossip grew fiercer. But the next day, that couple suddenly went missing. The villagers immediately accused us of being the culprits. We were dragged into the street and pelted with stones. I cried and tried to prove my innocence, but the villagers ignored me. Suddenly, the village chief appeared. He calmed the crowd, urging them to continue searching for the missing couple. The villagers reluctantly dispersed. The chief whispered to us,
"Poor souls, go to the statue of Cupid and pray sincerely. He will take pity on you and grant you blessings."
We thanked the chief and followed his advice. We were praying before Cupid's statue, but a voice suddenly echoed,
"Who is praying here? Cupid cannot turn a blind eye to unfortunate love. Oh, you pitiful souls, follow me."
Cupid led us to his castle, where we were welcomed with a feast. Marcus joyfully drank a glass of wine. For a brief moment, I saw his eyes come to life.
I can see the light. Is that you, Julia?
His joyful expressions suddenly turned to horror. I didn't understand what was happening, but I knew at that moment Marcus had seen my ugly appearance. Shame overwhelmed me. Marcus's eyes returned to their usual blindness, but his face twisted in pain.
That was the temporary effect of the divine wine. Don't dwell on it. Now tell me your wishes.
I immediately begged Cupid to bless us with eternal love so that the villagers would accept us as normal people.
I wish to share my desire in private.
Unable to bear the worry in my heart, I followed them and eavesdropped from behind a wall.
Make me able to see, I'm begging you.
Very well, but on one condition. You must offer a heart in exchange.
Marcus fell silent, but his silence was like a deafening explosion in my heart. After the wine feast, we returned home.
I am Marcus. A cruel illness stole the light from my eyes. If I regained my sight, could I find a prettier girl? But Julia had cared for me all this time. How could I betray her? Suddenly, I heard the village chief's voice.
"Is something troubling you, young man?"
I poured out my heart to him. The chief whispered,
"True love demands sacrifice. Stop hesitating. Take her heart in exchange for your sight. Your life will be happier."
I stood over Julia's bed, listening to her steady breaths. She was deep asleep. Julia's tearful voice broke the silence.
Marcus, this breaks my heart. You don't have to dirty your hands.
She pressed the blade through her own chest.
Be happy. Take my heart for your eyes.
Oh no, what had I done? Julia was the one who loved me most in this world, and yet I had betrayed her. No, I had to beg Cupid to save her. Cupid, where are you? I called out, but there was no answer, only a chilling silence. I groped in the darkness, and my hand touched something rough, shaped like wings. I had heard that Cupid had wings. But if the wings were here, where was Cupid? Suddenly, a voice rang out.
Have you brought the heart?
My hands trembled as I held Julia's heart. Her heart was snatched away. Is that you, Cupid? Please return her heart and bring her back to life. I no longer want my sight.
There is no Cupid here, you naive fools.
A stinging pain burned my cheek as I trembled in fear. What do you mean?
I need 100 hearts from loving couples to create the elixir of immortality. You were so easy to deceive. The village chief received a hefty sum for luring couples like you here.
I was devastated. It was all a scam. I couldn't hold back my tears. Julia was dead because of my impulsive trust in that fraud and the village chief.
Now your hearts belong to me.
I'm Edna, and I live in a village near the edge of the forest. The young girls here are often targeted by big wolves, and these red scarves dyed with madder roots are the only things that protect us.
Edna, we need your help. Ruby got hurt and can't go into the forest. Can you take her place?
Of course I can. Every year, the villagers send a girl into the forest to give offerings to the old witch, hoping she'll bring a bountiful harvest.
You have to hand this basket to her and follow her instructions. And remember, don't lose this red scarf, or the wolves will smell you.
I looked at Ruby, who was supposed to go. She looked at me anxiously like she wanted to say something. I know going into the forest is dangerous, but I agreed to take Ruby's place because I want to find out what happened to my sister, Sophie, who disappeared 5 years ago. This forest is always foggy, damp and dark, making it hard to tell day from night. The only colours I see are from the mushrooms. I tried picking one, but even though they look pretty, they smell like rotten meat. I saw some bright red flowers too, but I didn't want to pick them anymore. I heard wolves howling all over the forest. I felt like a pair of bloodthirsty eyes were secretly watching me in the dark. But when I turned around, I didn't see anything. I felt really uneasy. I walked a little further and found a bear. It was lying weakly on the ground, with its leg trapped under a big branch. It looked like it had been there for days. I felt sorry for the bear and wanted to help. I tried lifting the branch, but it wasn't as heavy as I thought. While I was using my Red Riding Hood to bandage the bear's leg, it suddenly thanked me. It scared me.
Thank you, kind girl. To thank you, I'll warn you that a wolf is following you.
I surprised, but quickly responding. Don't worry. I have this red scarf. The wolf won't be able to find me.
No one who's been targeted by the wolf can escape.
Don't worry. I'll go to the witch's house right away. I'll be safe there. I finally found the wooden house in the middle of the forest.
Come in.
The whole house smelled damp and cold. Mushrooms were growing on the corners of the walls and next to the table, making the house seem like it was part of the forest outside. It didn't feel warm or safe at all. It seemed like the owner of this house was very lonely. My name is Edna. The villagers sent me to visit you. Are you sick?
Yes, I'm sick. So please let me lie in bed and don't come near me.
I thought fresh food might make the old woman feel better. But when I opened the basket, all the food was rotten. This is strange. It shouldn't take more than half a day to get here from the village. How could the food go bad so quickly?
You must be hungry. I've made you a mushroom soup.
I did as she said and opened the pot of soup, but the soup inside was dark and thick, with a fishy smell that made me want to throw up. I don't make the old woman sad. I secretly poured the soup away. The soup was delicious. Thank you for dinner. The lonely old woman wanted me to stay with her for the night, but in the middle of the night, I was woken up by the sound of her whispering with someone. Curious, I looked towards the door. The person I thought was an old woman had a face exactly like my sister. Sophie.
Hansel, you're late.
That girl dropped her red scarf, which made me lose track and eat a corpse. It was disgusting.
She ate the mushroom soup and fell asleep, just like our agreement. You take the soul, and I take the body.
Was my poor sister possessed like this too?
My whole body froze, and I ran out of that scary house, trembling. It turned out that the sacrifice wasn't the offerings I brought, but myself. I have to escape this forest and expose the horrible truth to the villagers. The bright red flowers from the day were actually dried pools of blood, and the colourful mushrooms grew from them. They were the ones causing the hallucinations. It seems these mushrooms were the real cause of the illusions. I met the bear I had saved again, but it had been dead for days, its body rotting, its stomach ripped open. Suddenly, a cold wind rushed by, making my hair stand on end. Hansel had caught my scent. Terrified and desperate, I tried to back away from the evil creature. My hand crushed a cluster of mushrooms. These mushrooms, although they caused me to hallucinate, also made me stronger. I recklessly grabbed the whole cluster and ate them greedily. A feeling of dizziness washed over me. A sense of power filled my entire body. I stubbornly charged forward and attacked, stabbing the village chief in the eye, making him scream in pain. After taking down the wolf, I ran away, but Sophie blocked my path. Her body had rotted, turning into a giant, hideous mushroom. I picked up the bear bone and rushed to fight, but the person in front of me was just an illusion. Confused, I looked at my hand, and suddenly my stomach felt like it was being pierced through with pain. The feeling of pain pulled me out of the hallucination. It turned out I was just struggling in vain. That bastard Hansel had caught me, taken over me. My body was being enveloped by the mushrooms. I could clearly feel my soul being gradually sucked away. There was no more pain, no more torment, only a numbness that led to death.
I have always loved creatures others feared, snakes especially, misunderstood, much like myself. People see them as symbols of death, as lurking evils waiting to strike. But I knew better. A snake only bites when threatened, only kills when forced. Treat them with kindness, and they will be gentle in return. Yet humans do not understand such things. They fear what they do not know. They whispered behind my back, called me wicked for keeping serpents as companions. They envied my beauty, my wisdom, my devotion to Athena. Their jealousy was like poison, spreading through their words, their gazes. But I paid them no mind. My heart belonged to the goddess of wisdom, and I lived only to serve her. Then, he came, Poseidon, a god as vast and unknowable as the ocean itself. His voice was the crashing tide, his eyes the abyss. We met by chance on the shore. He weaved promises of protection, of love, of a world where I would never be alone. It was tempting, but my heart belonged to Athena, and so I refused him. Yet I did not know that my sincerity would lead me into darkness. His hands were heavy, suffocating, drowning me beneath a wave I could not escape. He did not need force, only a whisper, a cup of wine laced with something unseen, something that turned my limbs to stone before my curse ever did. And when I woke, broken and defiled, it was not his face I saw. It was Athena's. Her wrath was like a storm, her voice a blade that cut me deeper than anything Poseidon had done. I fell to my knees, pleading, begging her to see the truth, but she only looked down at me as though I was filth, a stain upon her sacred temple.
"You have broken your vow,"
she said, her voice void of mercy.
"Your beauty has led to your corruption. It will do so no longer."
I screamed as the curse took hold. My hair twisted, writhed, transformed into hissing vipers that coiled around my face. My skin burned, my veins turned to ice. The first time I opened my eyes, the priestess who had once been my friend turned to stone before me. One by one, everyone I loved, and who had loved me, met the same fate, frozen in front of my helpless gaze. I ran. I hid in the darkest corners of the earth, veiling my face, pressing my fingers into my cursed eyes, as if I could gouge them out and be free. But the serpents wrapped around my wrists, hissing warnings, stopping me from my own destruction. They were my jailers as much as my only companions. I hated them. I hated myself. I hated him. Poseidon sat upon his throne, untouched, unpunished, while I became the monster. My rage consumed me, and I let it. I let it fester, let it twist into something dark, something deadly. If the gods would not take justice for me, I would take it myself. I went after his temples first. I found the men who worshipped him, who prayed to him, with hands still stained with the blood of the women they had defiled. They screamed as they turned to stone, their prayers turning to ash on their lips. I shattered their bodies into dust beneath my feet. But Poseidon did not care. I was nothing to him, a mere mortal, an insect squirming beneath the weight of a god. My vengeance was a drop in his ocean, meaningless against the vastness of his power. I stopped trying. Instead, I turned my gaze toward men like him. The ones who took what they wanted, the ones who whispered lies with honeyed tongues, the ones who thought themselves untouchable. They learned fear when they saw me. They learned what it meant to be hunted. I became the nightmare they told their sons about, the whisper in the dark. They set traps, they gathered their weapons, they came for me in numbers. And they failed, time and time again. They came at night, thinking they could strike unseen. I heard their boots crunch against gravel, their breath catching in their throats when they caught sight of my veiled form. The bravest among them stepped forward, sword trembling in his grip. I pulled back my hood. He locked eyes with me. The terror in them lasted only a second before his body seized, his flesh hardening, his skin turning grey. His lips parted in a silent scream as his muscles froze, as his soul was ripped from his form and trapped in lifeless stone. I had long since stopped counting how many men I had turned to statues. Their expressions of fear, of agony, of disbelief. They no longer haunted me. But what if they succeeded? Would they call it victory? Would they sing songs of their triumph, boast of slaying the monster that was once a woman? I no longer know if this is a curse or a blessing. For now, no one can ever hurt me again.
The weight of the ring on my finger feels like a shackle. My wife, sweet and kind, sleeps soundly beside me, her breathing steady, unaware of the cold emptiness in my heart. I stare at the window, my mind consumed by the dreams of him, Nosferatu. His presence haunts me, lurking in the edges of my vision, whispering to me in my sleep. His elongated fingers trace my skin in the dark recesses of my mind, leaving trails of ice and fire. I wake up trembling, gasping, craving something nameless and forbidden. Then came the letter. Herr Nock, my employer, has ordered me to travel to Transylvania to finalize a sale with Count Orlok. The townspeople recoil at the mention of his name. Superstition grips them, their whispers filled with fear. Yet deep within, I feel something else. Anticipation, as if I am meant to go to him. The journey is long, and as I cross into his domain, the world itself seems to change. The Carpathians loom like jagged teeth, and the wind howls like a chorus of lamenting souls. When I arrive at the castle, its towering presence fills me with dread and longing. The carriage driver refuses to go further. I step alone into the shadows. He is waiting. Count Orlok, Nosferatu, is unlike anything I have ever seen. His gaunt frame, his hollow eyes, the way the candlelight barely clings to his form.
You have come,
he says, his voice dry as withered leaves. Dinner is served, though I barely touch it. My hands tremble. My skin prickles under his unblinking gaze. I am trying to keep up appearances, to act as though I am here only for business. Then, in a moment of clumsiness, my knife slips. A thin red line blossoms on my finger. Silence. Nosferatu moves with terrifying speed. His clawed hand clasps my wrist, lifting my bleeding finger to his lips. A shudder courses through me, not of fear, but of something deeper, something I dare not name. His tongue grazes my wound, and a dizzying euphoria crashes over me. The world distorts, the candlelight flickers, and my breath hitches. He looks at me with something unreadable, something ancient.
You are bound to me.
I don't resist. That night, he comes to me. The walls seem to pulse, the air thick with something unseen. He speaks of my pain, of the chains that bind me. He sees through the facade, through the forced smiles and silent suffering.
You have always belonged to the night.
He whispers, his lips grazing my chest. When his fangs pierce my skin, I do not scream. I wake in my chamber, my body feverish, my mind altered. The puncture wounds on my neck pulse with a dark hunger. I am no longer the man I was, but I must return. Back in Wisburg, I play the role of the dutiful husband. My wife watches me with quiet concern. She senses the shift in me. We argue. She pleads for me to hold her, to touch her the way a husband should. But I recoil. Every night I turn away from her, offering only silence in return. My hands are cold. My heart no longer beats the same. And at night, I hear his voice calling me, his shadow stretching long against my walls. Then, the plague comes. Death spreads through Wisburg like wildfire. The townsfolk whisper of a curse, of Nosferatu's wrath. They blame me. They claim I brought this darkness home. The sickness festers, leaving hollowed bodies and empty homes in its wake.
The vampire demands a sacrifice, a pure soul, untouched, to appease him.
They said to offer a virgin girl. A strange sensation rises within me, a mixture of discomfort and hope. I do not understand it, but it coils deep in my chest, tightening with every whispered word. The night of reckoning arrives. I stand before the window, shielding her from their condemning hands. Then, he comes. Nosferatu emerges from the shadows, towering, spectral. His eyes lock onto mine, unreadable, eternal. My wife clings to me, trembling, believing she is the one he wants. But he does not look at her. He looks at me. I stagger back, the realization slamming into my chest like ice. It was never her. It was always me. His clawed hand extends. An invitation. A promise.
Your passion is bound to me.
Terror and longing wage war within me. The life I knew, the mask I wore, the expectations that bound me, all of it unravels. I was never meant for this world. I was meant for him. And so, I step forward. Nosferatu's arms close around me, his embrace colder than death, and yet, I have never felt more alive. As dawn breaks over Wisburg, I vanish into the shadows, leaving behind only whispers of a love never meant to exist in the light.
I woke up gasping, drenched in sweat, hands clutching my throat like I was choking. It was just a dream. That's what I kept telling myself. But the pain in my neck felt real, like something had been stretched, like I had been hanged and survived. In the dream, my neck had stretched, impossibly long, like an eel gliding through the dark. I floated weightless, led by my own head through the night, past sliding doors and into the garden. That's where I saw them. My husband and a girl, no older than 20. She giggled at something he whispered. He brushed her cheek the way he used to brush mine, and then they kissed, bold and unashamed. Except I was there, or at least my head was. And when he noticed it, my face, my floating head, he screamed and swung his katana. A blur of silver flashed, and I woke up. I sat there, knees drawn to my chest, watching him sleep. His breath was slow, steady, undisturbed, like he hadn't just appeared in my nightmare with another woman. The image still burned behind my eyes. A nightmare, I told myself. A trick of the mind. But deep down, I knew better. That wasn't a dream, it was a warning. In the days that followed, I began to see it. The scent of strange incense on his robes, not the kind I burned for the altar or wore on my sleeves. It lingered, delicate and wrong. One evening, folding his inner kimono, I noticed a faint red smear along the collar. At first, I thought it was crushed plum blossom, but when I touched it, it smeared Benny, lip dye, the kind worn by young courtesans. He laughed when I asked.
Probably from the crowd by the river. Some drunk girl stumbled too close.
But I knew. No one touches a magistrate's robes, not by accident. When I confronted him, he smiled. Not with guilt, but with calm dismissal.
Your mind is too wild. You'll drive yourself mad with superstition. You'll make yourself sick.
Later, I overheard him whispering to his mother, saying I was losing my balance, that I might need rest. She pulled me aside in the garden days later, her hand cold on my wrist.
You mustn't let jealousy consume you. Wear your crimson kimono again. Put on makeup the way he used to like.
I wanted to scream. I wanted to tear my head from my shoulders and fling it at the wall. But I didn't. I bowed. I smiled. I poured tea like a good wife. And every night I dreamed of my neck growing longer, slithering through darkness, creeping toward truth. No one believed me. Not the other women at the market, not the shrine maiden I sought for advice. They all spun the same tale, that I was unstable, that I was unraveling. And he was the victim of a clingy, insecure wife. Then came the night. He was unusually tender. He brought me tea himself, said it was a calming blend from Kyoto.
For your nerves.
He smiled. I should have known. The taste was bitter, unfamiliar, but I drank it anyway, because I still wanted to believe him. I collapsed near the hallway, and from the corner of my fading vision, I saw him, standing over me, watching. Then, darkness. When I awoke, I couldn't move. My arms hung useless, my throat burned. From rope. He had strung me up from the ceiling beam. My body swayed gently, helplessly. I could hear him moving in the other room, opening jars, striking flint. The scent of lantern oil filled the air. He was setting the house on fire. The flames moved quickly, licking through the shoji walls, devouring everything we built. Smoke poured in, thick and choking. My lungs heaved, but the noose bit deeper. I should have died, but I didn't. Not yet. In that moment between fire and breath, I felt something rise in me. A pull, a pressure. My spine cracked, my throat expanded, my neck stretched. It didn't stop, longer and longer. Until my feet touched the floor again, though I still hung. Until the rope no longer choked me, only the memory of it. Drifting upward, my neck snaking through the fire like a silk banner of death. I slipped out of the burning frame, silent and weightless, into the cold night. Later, the neighbors whispered. They said they saw something rise from the fire. A woman's head, a twisting neck, a floating curse. They gave it a name, Rokurakubi. I became a breath beneath the door, a shadow above the futon, a nightmare woven into tatami. I whispered to unfaithful men. I curled my neck through their walls. I watched them shatter one by one. But the man I was looking for, he had vanished. Until that night, I found him in a new town, a new house, a new wife, pregnant. He still wore that smug, gentle face, the one he used when lying, when controlling. He had rebuilt his life. But I had not forgotten. That night, I slipped through the floorboards of their home. She lay asleep beside him, her belly full. He snored softly, unaware. I hovered above him, my neck stretched like a vine, my face inches from his. His eyes opened, and he screamed. He lunged for the katana beneath the futon, the same katana he once threatened me with in silence. He swung, steel met phantom flesh. My head fell to the tatami with a soft thud. Then it turned and smiled, because you cannot kill what you've already murdered. The woman stirred beside him.
What's happening?
My neck began to coil. Around his legs, his waist, his arms, his throat. It slithered tight and then it rotted. Flesh decayed on contact, black veins blooming beneath his skin. His body shuddered. The face on the floor, mine, began to crack. The eyes clouded, the skin peeled, the mouth opened. I looked at them both, his frozen terror, her rising scream, and whispered, I will always come back, because my neck still stretches, and the longer it grows, the closer I get, and you cannot escape your karma.